Today I'm going to show you how to paint your Bone Saw Cleaver Hunter for Bloodborne the Board Game by Cool Mini or Not, right after this. Hey everyone, Sam here from the Tabletop Hub, and I just received my Kickstarter pledge for Bloodborne the Board Game by Cool Mini or Not this week, and I just couldn't wait to try and paint some of the miniatures. So I decided to bring you all this little bonus painting tutorial this week to try and spread my excitement. Now if you've just got the board game and have never painted miniatures before, don't worry, this guide is going to be super simple, and if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask me down in the comments. So first of all, I primed the model using a matte black rattle can and then mixed some of Army Painter's Darkstone and Army Painter's Leather Brown at about a 1-to-1 mix, just until I was happy with what it looked like, and painted the trousers of our hunter. The colour palette of Bloodborne is really gritty and dark, so I didn't want to use the brown straight out of the bottle, and this helps add a really nice darker tone to it. Next I took Army Painter's Darkstone and painted the duster coat that the hunter is wearing, as well as the hat and a part of the cloth mask that is covering their face. Then I took some of Army Painter's Oak Brown and painted the straps that are covering the hunter's chest, as well as the wooden stock of their pistol and the leather armour that is covering the front of their lower legs. Now just to let you see what areas exactly that I painted, and also let you see what your model should be looking like at this stage, here's a quick spin around of mine. Next I took some of Citadel's Flayed One Flesh and mixed just a tiny amount of Army Painter's Leather Brown into it to paint the straps of the cleaver's handle. In the artwork that I saw of the character, these straps have a much browner hue to them, and this will help differentiate it from the straps of the blade that we'll be painting later. Speaking of the blade, I took some of Army Painter's Dungeon Grey and painted the cleaver blade, the metal areas of the pistol, and the pommel. I think it's a pommel, I'm going to call it a pommel, of the cleaver itself, and here's a quick spin around so you can see what the model looks like now. With that done, I went back to Citadel's Flayed One Flesh and painted the cloth straps that are wrapped around the cleaver. Now take your time with this area, you may find you need to apply too thin coats in order to get proper coverage. Just try not to load up your brush with paint in order to save time, otherwise it may overspill into the grey of the blade or look clumpy when it dries. Next I got some of Army Painter's Gunmetal and painted the buckles on the chest straps of the hunter and these little decorative areas on the boots. I then got my dry brush out and dry brushed this metallic colour onto the barrel of the pistol and the blade itself. As a final decorative touch, I got Citadel's Beltan Green Wash and added this to the straps of the cleaver blade. I saw this effect on the artwork and the official paint scheme from the Kickstarter, where it's used to make the blade look a little bit more disgusting, like it's weathered, old, and would likely give you tetanus if you cut your finger on it. Then I just topped it off by adding Citadel's Kislev flesh to this tiny little piece of face that we see just under the hat. Now if you want to add a really nice finishing touch to the miniature before we get to weathering, you could create a scenic base so that they aren't just standing on black plastic. Now to do this really simply, get some PVA glue and add a couple of small patches to the base, anywhere you like. Now you could add moss or little wood scratchings to this PVA, but I'm going to dip my model into a fine gravel mix that I've made myself. The fine stones will stick and glue to the PVA on the base, and it'll add little rock patches. And then to add some mud to the base, I apply some of Vallejo's Dark Earth texture paint, and when it dries it looks like a really muddy surface, which fits in quite well with Bloodborne, I think. Now the final part of this that will bring the model together is weathering. Now if you're new to painting and you're happy with how the model looks already, you can totally skip this part, but if you want to challenge yourself and add an extra level of detail and grime to the miniature, then watch on. So I took my airbrush and applied some black enamel wash from MIG. If you don't have this or an airbrush, you could apply some of Army Painter's Strong Tone or Citadel's Nuln Oil for a very similar effect. Enamels work very differently to acrylic paints, so what we're going to do is after we've applied a light dusting of the enamel wash, we're going to take a small brush and dip it into some white spirits and begin wiping away the enamel wash. Now what this will do is reveal the paints that we base coated the miniature with, while leaving a nice gradient into the shadows of the miniature that I think looks really nice. That, and it really helps darken the miniature to more accurately emulate the video game. I then rounded things off by taking some of Army Painter's Plate Mail Metal and added some scratches to the blade to make it look more worn, and that was it. The hunter was done. So folks, I hope you found this video helpful and that it's encouraged you to pick up a brush and get painting. If you want to keep up to date with my future videos, hit the subscribe button. I will for sure be painting more of the Bloodborne miniatures, but until next time, have a great week. I'll speak to you all soon.